Now for the first keynote, please welcome Mr. Robert McCay, Vice President of Engineering and Program Management, GENTEX Corporation and General Manager, GENTEX Corporation Systems.
Okay, good morning. I guess before I get started, I want to just bridge over, lean on Marcel's statements earlier of what really resonated with us at GENTEX and the C experience is the business strategy. It really is a strategy, and that's where the metrics we're going to touch on today really leaned on that to show the improvements. And so if anything resonated out of the morning presentation, it was that business strategy point and something that I'm a firm believer in. So. Before we get started, I want to just give you a little bit background. My first experience with C was 2004, attended one of the first conferences, had a lot of questions, began an engagement around the 2006 timeframe, and ultimately we became certified in 2009, and going through a stage 2 certification coming up and hopefully in 2011. All right, so let's get started. A little bit of a company overview. We have this GENTEX Corporation. We're privately held. We have a corporate office in Carbondale, Pennsylvania. We have a facility in Manchester, New Hampshire, Aurora, Illinois, and Millwood, New York. I'm located out in Rancho Cucamonga. We're handle respiratory equipment, aviation life support equipment, and actually the facility that I'm at is the one that's gone through the C certification. And we're actually leaning the processes out to our other locations. So trying to make it the company-wide theme. Started with one facility, then moving it out to the other facilities, and looking to start some engagements later in 2011 at the other locations. Integrated product company. We are a life support company, traditionally known for aircrew equipment, the helmet, the mask, helmet systems, helmet-mounted display systems. We also do ballistic helmets and support some of the ground industries and primarily defense-oriented, and electroacoustics as a product line that we also have within the company. In Rancho Cucamonga, we are primarily supporting the aviation life support, respiratory, breathing equipment. We're about 185 employees in Rancho Cucamonga. We recently moved in 2009 into a build-to-suit 100,000 square foot facility. Has an advanced oxygen mask and respiratory systems engineering and product integration facility and work cells. We have full lean manufacturing and implementation and increased automation with the new facility, and a training center. We bring a lot of our customers to the facility, train them on the products and host them and support them in the product and the fielding of the product. So throughout the process of going through phase 1 or stage 1 certification, we also plan to move, and a lot of that had to do with, as Marcel pointed out, was the increased capacity and the business strategy of growing the business. It really allowed us to accelerate that growth through that period of engagement. Our customers, primarily defense-oriented. We also serve a lot of OEMs. Rockwell Collins is a great customer of ours. And they're actually the ones who always got to pay tribute to them. They're the ones who encouraged us to come out and get engaged in C back in the 2003, 2004 timeframe. So what do we do? Measurable results. Through the C certification process, we deployed a lot of processes, PMM level 3s. And we focused on a couple of value streams that needed some significant help, and actually engaged with C-certified suppliers to help us to become a supplier of ours. So we met them at the conference, and although the on-time delivery was primarily driven through the leadership and culture, just really the business strategy, saying our customers are demanding better increased lead time. And through the strategic planning process, we were able to deploy improvement initiatives and kaizens in those areas, and we had marked improvement of a significant, measurable amount during that time period. The value streams that we targeted, and again, got to hand it to a couple of the C suppliers who we met at conferences, and we deployed the item to them, and they actually were able to help us decrease our lead time and significant reduction in procurement cost. And this made us very competitive in a particular value stream that, for us, we have a number of sole source products, and then we have a number of competitive products. It's probably a 60-40 split, so price is an issue with us at times, as it is for Marcel. And so we found ourselves very competitive in this value stream, and actually allowed us to secure a long-term contract as a result, and probably would not have got it. We would have been beat on price had we not gone through these value stream improvements. The last one is sales per employee, which again is back to the business strategy. We were not faced with deploying lean and finding ourselves in a situation of, as Marcel pointed out, employees wondering, well, does that mean I lose my job? It was quite the opposite. We had increased capacity, we were moving into a new facility, and we were able to sell that capacity because we were much more competitive, but primarily from the leadership and culture track, where we were drive business strategy. And sales per employee showed a marked increase. We became much more competitive, and actually were able to increase our workforce through an increase in volume. My name's Robert McCay. I think there was a slide here missing earlier, so I'm going to just touch on it. A few bullets that the takeaway were the positive measurable results translated to a satisfied customer loyalty, and strategic positioning, and actually delivered rewards to the customer. And Rockwell Collins is an example of that. By us going through this exercise and certification, we were able to deliver rewards to our customer, which was improved delivery time, on-time delivery, and actually a lower price, which made them increase their investment in us, both in capital as well as increased volume and securing additional business from them. So, with that, if there aren't any questions, I'll back it up. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Oh.
You said you had multiple facilities. Did you only do this the C workshop LES through only one facility or all of them?
Yeah, it was only through the facility out in Rancho Cucamonga. The strategy we took as a company, we're privately held, fairly conservative, and it was kind of a let's do a crawl, walk, run. And the biggest challenge we had was, as you pointed out in your slide, and I'm a firm believer in, is you need the support from the top. So myself leading the charge locally, no problem there. But integration into the company, I really had to sell it, and it took a while, quite frankly, because people were skeptical. And what we've now done, we've turned that corner because we've seen the improvement, the business strategy. I can tell you that in total, GENTEX is about 800 employees. And so 185 employees out here in Rancho Cucamonga. We wrote the process, level 3, for strategic planning. Quite frankly, they took that exact process and then leveraged it corporate-wide. So we were able to flow that up, and that was the strategy. Try it at one location, then deploy the processes at the other locations. And there's some discipline involved with that because they are not engaged formally in the C process. So keeping them on track for getting those processes to level 3 is a challenge. And so there's a firm commitment to look at deploying an engagement process at our corporate facility later this year, if not in early 2012. And that any of the processes we're doing now within the company are being deployed corporate-wide. So it is powerful, but that was one challenge we were faced with. Without a doubt, if I weren't going to carry the torch locally, never would succeed. But then to keep the corporate, if you have a corporate office you have to report into to keep them aligned, it's very important.
Thank you.
Good.
Morning. I noticed all double-digit improvements, dollars per employee, cost, value stream, those type of things. What period of time was that over, and do you see that accelerating coming into 2011, or do you see that going flatline?
Each one's, let me break it down. If you took on time, the period we were looking at there is roughly a 12-month, and because this conference got pushed out, we moved it to an 18-month window. So roughly an 18-month window. If we look at on-time delivery, that's actually turned out to be a 41% increase. when you're pretty low, it's not too difficult to get 41% increase, so there's some low-hanging fruit.
Right.
And so that makes we accomplished that. I can tell you since we ran the metrics, our on-time deliveries only increased, but we're nowhere near where a Boeing wants us to be. So we still have work to do, and deploying those processes and some discipline will get us there. On the sales per employee, it has continued, actually. In fact, right as we started the engagement and just getting the initial processes, some early level 3s deployed, the return on that investment was phenomenal. I mean, we've been through ISO 9001, we're AS91 certified, 9100 certified at our location, and those were good investments, very good. But I never saw the power of the return on investment for doing stage 1, level 3 processes. They're just I mean, I'm convinced of the value of the time you put in on those, and if you deploy them, they're powerful. So sales per employee has, throughout the certification process, early on, it ramped up and then accelerated through certification. And then this is the last 18 months. We've been certified coming up on 2 years. So it's only continued since then. Now,
and you see that going into 2012 and beyond, those kind of numbers?
Not at the accelerator rate on the sales per employee. On-time delivery undoubtedly will continue to go up in terms of performance. Sales per employee is going to, we're challenged with the defense sector. We've been on a growth. We've doubled our business in the last 5 years. So that's, in this trying time, that's significant. And so deploying level 3 processes helped us manage that growth, quite frankly. We would not have been able to execute that growth without these processes. I'm convinced of it. Now, going forward, we have a base. And, we're competing out there. We have opportunities. We have a large pipeline of developmental work that if we can convert to production, then those numbers will only increase. But the challenge is execution on the development side of the equation for us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Robert. Bill Alderman. One of the things that we've heard this morning is how great C and Lean is. No negative. Nothing is perfect. So as you've gone down the roadmap, can you give us 1 or 2 things that didn't quite go well, or is everything just completely perfect?
No. Everything's got its challenges. I would say the things that stood out the most in terms of not necessarily the train coming off the tracks, it's just remaining committed to it. You got your naysayers in the organization said, we've seen this before, been through, worked at other companies, and showing the results, pointing to business that we got because we did this. Having a Rockwell Collins come in and put $200,000 in capital equipment in your facility because you're doing what they believe in. You're customer focused. You're showing tangible results. And they're making long-term commitments to your organization. Nobody can argue that, but you got to deploy that. You got to let people know that. You got to get those wins and get the word out. But I'll tell you, it's fighting and keeping everybody on the same page, I think, is the challenge. In the stage 1 processes, some of them are easier than others. And if you've got if you don't have folks who can look at business strategy, and particularly for smaller companies who can have a view of there's value in this, that was really one to say, hey, you're in a room for 2 days for a reason. It's not just to talk about how good we are. It's where we're going from here. That's not easy. And if you don't get the right momentum in there, I will say having the right facilitators through C has been helpful. In general, most of them were very good. I think we had one that didn't work out so well, so that was one. You just got to correct and adjust and monitor that. And overall, I would say the positives far outweigh the negatives, but you got to stay focused and keep that leadership commitment to it, and chip away at it. They're manageable, and what I found most encouraging is if we ever had a question, we could at the time go to Rockwell Collins, and we still can, or we can come in to C and talk to Jeff or Michael or Mickey, and they'll point you in the right direction. Somebody else has already done this, and leverage that. So.
Sorry, one comment, real quick. I promise, Mickey, I'll be real fast. To answer Bill's question, one thing that we experienced, and I don't know if you experienced it, is the employees get really excited about the tools that you're giving them, and they start to use them for things that are important to them, and it's nice, but you also want to make sure that the customer benefits. So when our guys did a Kaizen on the parking lot and how cars are parked, that's when I had
Yeah.
to stop and say, no, guys, that's not really how we're going to use the tool.
Yeah, that customer focus is the key, and you need to ask, well, the things you're doing, will the customer pay for it? Treat it like it's your pocketbook, and if you ask that question, you're usually going to sort through those other ones that you probably shouldn't be focused on. Good. Any other questions? Thank you.